Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking about episode 2 of season 3 of Game of Thrones called Dark Wings, Dark Words. And tragically, this episode does not, in fact, despite what the title hints at, contain a guest appearance by 90s cartoon icon Darkwing Duck. Yeah, I know, I was disappointed too. What we really have here is checking in with a few characters we didn't really get to see much of last time around, and a tiny bit of advancing of what's going on with with everybody else. Um, Overall, this episode isn't bad, but it's just sort of suffers from we're skipping around so much. We never get to spend more than a couple of minutes with anybody, so it really just feels like the story is just inching along. I mean, it's understandable. We're coming back from a long break. It's a new season. We need to. It's not unreasonable to want to ease people into things, but this is a show that has a very short episode run, so we can't really spend time. Too much time playing around. You really need to get out there and be throwing the punches. But I have faith in this show. This show knows how to do its pacing, so let's get into it. So we start off with Bronn and his dreams, and sorry, my voice is not doing so well today. We're very quickly introduced to Jojen and Meera Reed. Now, I love these two in the books. Meera Reed is she's one of my favorite supporting characters. She's really awesome. And I like that here, at least physically and in terms of his attitude, it seems like Jojen is made of a little bit sterner stuff than his book counterpart. Now, it's been a while since I read the story, so, again, as always, do forgive me if I've forgotten some of the details. And, of course, as always, I'm not going to spoil anything big, but I might talk about a few minor details from the books here. Let's see. Not really all that much going on with Robb. I mean, he does get two really bad bits of news. His grandfather's dead, and his home's been sacked and burned, and his two brothers are most likely dead. Tough being Robb. I do have to say, I'm kind of glad that we're not going to see Hoster Tully this time around, because in the books, all he really does is lay in bed and moan and say things while he's delirious. Just here, let's cut to the chase, the guy dies. And here, cut to the chase, the guy's dead. So we do get that. I mean, of course, this is a nasty blow to Robb, and it's even more so of a blow to Catelyn. Those are her son, her homes, and her father. So, not that Robb probably wasn't sad to lose his grandfather, but then we kind of get to have a decent moment with Catelyn, seeing Talisa trying to bond with her, and of course, failing miserably. And that's not a knock on Talisa as so much as is a knock on Catelyn. Now, look, I like Catelyn. She's really cool. She has some absolutely awesome moments in the book, but I'm one of those people that I really just could never find it in myself to forgive her for the way she treated Jon Snow. Because basically, for the first book, Jon Snow was my favorite character. By the time the second book rolled around, he'd become number 2, with, unsurprisingly, Tyrion becoming my favorite character. But, I still have some pretty serious love for Jon Snow. He's awesome. I love Jon Snow. But, like I said, I could never just really forgive Catelyn for just treating him badly his whole life. Now, what we see here with her story that she tells Talisa about, how she had at one point in her life, prayed for Jon's life before the gods and promised if they spared him that she would be a mother to him, that she would beg Ned to legitimize him, and how if she'd actually done all that, then none of this all would have happened. Well, I think Catelyn's making a little bit too big of is overestimating just how much legitimizing Jon would have changed things. I mean, Jaime Lannister still probably would have chucked Bronn right off that tower, right? But still, there's just the fact that she did actually make this promise, to the gods that she believes in, and then went right back to treating Jon like dirt for, probably like at least 10 years? I mean, it really does drive home just how deeply hurt she must have been by Ned bringing home John, but we already knew that from season 1, so I'm not really sure exactly where that was supposed to go. Again, it just all this really does serve to do is remind viewers like, oh yeah, Caitlyn could be a real bastard too, same as everybody else on this show. And I suppose that's an important lesson to learn, or at least to remind people of. But I don't know. I'm just really not sure why this particular bit of information was put out there. I don't really think that it advances the story any. And well, it certainly fleshes Caitlyn out as a character. I'm really not sure where beyond doing that it can really do anything. Now, granted, fleshing characters out is one of the things that is of course very important in stories, and it's done a great job on this show. But again, we only have so many minutes of screen time in a particularly short run of this series, so if we're going to get something like this, I think it really does need to be a little bit more plot relevant. That's just my personal take on things. And yeah, what was with that like Dreamcatcher thing that Caitlyn was making? I know she said, prayer for a mother. Only a mother can make this into protect her children, all that. But I really wish they hadn't made it look like a Dreamcatcher, because I was just looking at that. I was like, you know what, Caitlyn? They sell those for like $5 at the Chevron station. Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, let's go and since we're done. Let's see. Let's continue talking about the Starks and we'll kind of wrap them up, and then we'll continue on. First of all, we finally get to see how Arya has been doing, and I love how in this little scene we just have a moment with Gendry like going, "Wait, why didn't you just send the assassin guy to kill Queen Cersei or King Joffrey? You could have prevented all of this." And Arya's just like, "Shut up." And you know what? I love that, because that is what everybody who was watching this show and everybody who's read the books was thinking during all those scenes. It's just like, Arya, I love you. You're my third favorite character in this series, but for God's sakes, why did you send the assassin after those people? It's just like, oh, God. Girl, you're so supposed to be smarter than this. Yeah, but still, it definitely... I think that was definitely thrown in there for the benefit of the audience very much. Now we get to see, of course, the Brotherhood without banners, and we get to meet Thoros, I believe was the fella's name. Again, it's been a couple of years, like at least 2 since I read this particular book, so my memory of these events is a little hazy. And what I do love about Arya's story in the show and in the books is that every time it seems like Arya's caught a break, it lasts for 5 minutes, and then somehow her life gets even worse. And this plays perfectly true to form when they drag in the Hound, and uh-oh, he knows who she is. It's just like, oh man, Arya, you just have the worst luck. But she's Arya, so she's tough enough to deal with it. So there's definitely going to be some very interesting things on the horizon coming from that. And let's see, I think that covers the Starks, so let's move on to talk about the Lannisters. Oh wait, sorry, we almost forgot to talk about Sansa. I do like those scenes that she has with Shae, although I have to say I'm just not 100% sure why Shae is so really bound up in caring about Sansa. Now, granted, Tyrion has appointed her to be Sansa's handmaiden. That's definitely a big break for Shae. And, she has seen that Sansa is somebody who's in a really dire situation. I mean, look at what happened between her and Joffrey, and what could possibly still happen between her and Joffrey. But, I don't know. I just don't really know if it's been, in my mind, beyond her relationship with Tyrion, if Shay has been someone who's been established enough as a character to really give this much of a damn about somebody else. Now, granted, I do sort of like last episode, we get to see those little bonding moments between her and Sansa, but I guess in a nutshell, I'm trying to say here is I'm not 100% sold on her having such a strong bond with Sansa at this point. Now, granted, she was, there for Sansa when she flowered and all that other stuff, but your mileage may vary. I'm just not 100% convinced that she would have such a strong bond there. She of course does have that really nice and strong bond with Tyrion, and I do like their scenes together. how after doing so much to protect Sansa, who is just mind-bogglingly naive. You know what? I'll come back to Sansa in a minute. I want to keep talking about Shay since I'm on that road. We get to see her talking with Tyrion, and her getting pissed that Tyrion does seem to be, at least on a minor level, seem to be somewhat attracted to Sansa. Again, something that may or may not be relevant in the future. And we get to see, you were there for the final scene between Shay and Tyrion, so yeah. But anyway, going back to Sansa, we get to see her having some bonding time with Olenna. And I gotta say, I love Olenna. She is just an absolutely awesome old lady. In the book, she has some really great moments. And I really like how she is just in top-notch form here. And with very little effort is able to ferret out from Sansa that Joffrey is a monster. Now, I like how Sansa is still obviously terrified of Joffrey for very good reason. But still, the fact that it didn't really take that much coaxing to get her to admit the truth. Sansa's smartened up and toughened up some since all of this began, but she's still got a really long way to go. I mean, you really have to ask just how naive this girl could be if she at this point still thinks that Littlefinger is doing anything for her just because he's friends with her mom. It's just like, God, Sansa, do you not know anything about how the real world works? But anyway, since I brought him up, let's go and talk about Tyrion. Not really a huge amount to say about what's going on with him this episode. I'm kind of wondering if his relationship with Shay and how things play out there might be going in a noticeably different direction than it did in the books. Again, I'm starting to think that might be a real possibility. But, I'm not going to really speculate too much further because to do that I'd have to spoil some very important events in the books, and I don't want to do that. Of course, we get to come to that nice scene with between Cersei and Joffrey, and I like how Joffrey has become much more comfortable in just completely ignoring his mom. Cersei's there still trying to give him what is actually not unreasonable advice, and Joffrey's just like, whatever, Mom. Now, granted, he did basically threaten her previously, and that's of course totally in keeping with Joffrey's character. But here, I think Joffrey is enough in control, or at least in his mind, that he doesn't really see it as it necessary anymore to struggle with his mom for power. He's convinced himself that he's his own man enough that he can just basically blow her off. Not something that Joffrey in the past would have done quite so easily. And of course, Cersei just absolutely detests this whole situation, and it's fun to watch her be miserable because Cersei's horrible and evil. Yes, I know there's more to Cersei than that. She is a very complicated character, and I won't lie, there are times in the books where I genuinely feel bad for her, but I still think she's evil and horrible. We also get to see Cersei sniping at Margaery, which is quite a bit of fun. It really is interesting to see Cersei having to deal with somebody who is in very many ways every bit as skilled as playing people in the court as she is, but has a very different approach to how she does it that seems to be quite effective, and something that Cersei doesn't seem to have quite a good grasp on how to counter. And of course, Margaery is completely able to just with very minimal effort, manipulate Joffrey. She comes in there and, after prodding around a bit, getting an idea of what's going on in Joffrey's head, she's able to play him like a harp. And just look at the way that she's, messing around with the crossbow and the story she spins him about Renly and all that. Although, if Joffrey does enact the law that makes homosexuality punishable by death, that would mean that his own brother-in-law and Marjorie's brother would, in all likelihood, be the first victim of that. Not that I think that Marjorie wouldn't step in there and do what she could to get Joffrey to push Joffrey away from that. And if what we've seen is any indication so far, she could probably get away with that. So I actually have to say I like this quite a bit more. Marjorie is proving to be, not that she wasn't an interesting and formidable character in the books, but here, I don't know, for some reason I'm taking more of a shine to Marjorie. Maybe it's just the fact that there's an actor that I can attach to her face to helps. It just, rather than having her just be an image in my head. Let me see here. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have to we did forget one Stark, quote unquote. We got to go and talk about Jon. What's going on with him? We get not really a whole lot, really. He's just sort of hanging out with Mance Rayder, who's like, yeah, okay, I trust you for now, but if you make me change my mind, I'm totally gonna kill you, bro. And like, oh, hey, check out this guy who's a warg. Okay, I mean, that's cool, and it leads us it makes for a nice transition to see what's going on with Sam. And I certainly did like, I order you not to die. That's certainly a very badass Night's Watch moment from the books that I really did see. And, it is definitely the kick in the pants that good old Sam needed. Sam is a character that his journey in the books I absolutely love. From where he starts to where he was in the last book, A Dance with Dragons, it's a great story. You really just can't stop rooting for poor Sam. And I gotta say, folks, if you've really not been liking Sam so far, hold on to your hats, because he's probably gonna pull off a few things that will impress you. Sam is at his heart really a very good character. Let's see. Oh yes. We forgot a Lannister. Have you noticed that I'm not the most mentally organized person in the world sometimes? Delicious water. Okay, so we have to go and talk about Jaime and Brienne, and this is really fun. I always enjoyed the way those two just were constantly arguing and sniping and complaining to each other. I mean, it just really was always very entertaining. And of course, we get to see that Jaime, while he certainly is a very good swordsman, he's also a guy who knows how to use his brain to fight. You see, he manages to sort of pretend being weak and hurt, and that's able to trick Brienne long enough for him to get a sword. And what I really like about that fight is, even though Jaime loses, at the start of it, he's really bringing it. And let's be realistic here. Brienne's a heck of a warrior. But Jaime is Kingsguard. He is one of the best swordsmen in Westeros, and that is his reputation. He is considered by many people probably to be the greatest swordsman in the land. Now, granted, it is said by the folks who were behind the scenes of the show that if someone hadn't stuck their nose in, that Ned Stark could have taken him in season 1, but that's not how it was in the books. But anyway, the point of it is that even though Brienne wins, think about what Jaime's been through physically in the last few months. He's certainly been malnourished, can't have been sleeping well, he's been tied up, not been able to train, to exercise regularly. So physically, he is not the man he normally is. And that's why she's able to win the fight. And that's certainly, in my mind, not a knock against her as a character. It's established that this is a lady who can seriously kick butt. But if she was dealing with Jaime at his peak, well, let's be realistic. She'd probably give him a heck of a fight, but that's not a fight she would win. And I don't think it's any way insulting to her as a character to say that. And of course, another little change from the book is that they get found by the forces of the Boltons here when they In the books, they were found by what was that? Hang on, I got it right here. Yes, the Brave Companions. Yeah, sorry, I almost called them the Brotherhood without banners, but that's the guys who found Arya, Gendry, and Hot Pie. Man, just keeping track of all the names on this show. Jeez, what a chore sometimes, huh? Well, let me see here. Yeah, I think that covers everything that I have to say about this episode. I'm hoping next week is the episode where we kind of will start to really home in on people, get to let some of the characters have some really serious screen time, and in that way really jump the story forward to a serious degree. But still, even though it's been a really slow start and at times maybe even just a tiny bit dull, I continue to have complete and utter faith in the show. It has not let me down in general very often. So yeah, I think buckle up, folks. This is probably going to be one heck of a season, just like the last two. So anyway, that's where I'm going to call it. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.